It's been 2 years since the Xbox One and PS4 have been on the market, and both consoles have come a long way since they were first announced. With the holiday season coming up, most gamers will consider one of these two consoles, but which to choose? I'm Magic Official from the Magic Game Center, and I'm going to try my best to give you my honest opinions about each one and help you figure out which one is right for you. Please note that I'm going to be using facts, but in the end, which console is superior will be my own personal opinion based on these facts, and it is okay if you disagree with them. This is part 2 of this mini-series I'm working on. If you wish to watch part 1, where I talk about looks and hardware, there will be a link in the description for it. This is part 2, where I will talk about the controllers of each console. Let's start with the Xbox One. Many argue that the Xbox 360 controller is one of the greatest ones ever made. So Microsoft decided to take the 360 controller and improve only what needed improving. The result is the Xbox One controller. The design is definitely similar to the 360's. It is a perfect size for fitting in both large and small hands. The thumbsticks have now been contoured inwards with a smooth, rounded shape and a nice texture around them. It replaces the start and select button for a view button and menu button, which generally just function like start and select anyway. The glowing Xbox button in the middle no longer indicates player number, but it does have more functionality. It functions as a home button, can be double tapped to snap apps for multitasking at any time, or can even be used to record footage. Unfortunately, the Xbox One controller still requires AA batteries. You can buy a play and charge kit for the Xbox One, but personally I would recommend the Energizer charging system, which for the price of the play and charge kit includes 2 battery packs and an attractive stand to charge your controllers, which recognizes when they're charging, when they're fully charged, and can cut the power to the controllers to prevent overcharging. Requiring the customer to buy batteries or a battery pack is very disappointing, but it does get made up for by stellar battery life. I get on average 30 hours of playtime and have never run out of juice from standby. The D-pad has definitely been improved over the Xbox 360 D-pad. It is now much more responsive and the inputs feel a lot better. The best feature of the new controllers though are definitely the triggers. They feel perfect. This is largely thanks to the impulse rumble motors in each trigger. Depending on your actions in the game, each trigger will vibrate either on its own or simultaneously. It feels much more immersive to be playing Forza, applying the brakes, and feeling the trigger you used for those brakes vibrate in accordance to the pressure you put on them, as opposed to how it would feel having the whole controller just shake violently. And this can be seen across all genres of games. If you like to have your own different controllers, Microsoft makes it very easy for you by offering not only a variety of colors, but tons of different designs based on multiple games, so you can have a large variety to choose a controller that looks the way you like it. Also, Microsoft announced that in a new update, the Xbox One will feature customizable inputs across all games, a feature which was previously reserved for PCs. If you buy a great game, but the controls are mapped in a way that breaks the experience, you can change them to whatever makes you feel comfortable. This is huge and an extremely welcome feature. If you don't like the way your controller itself feels, Microsoft is also releasing an Elite controller, in which you can replace parts like the D-pad, sticks, and even has more programmable buttons. Microsoft decided to play it safe with the Xbox One controller, and by making one of the best controllers ever even better, the end result is a product you will enjoy playing with for hours on end. Now on to the PlayStation 4 controller. The DualShock line hasn't changed much ever since the PS1, but the PS4 definitely has the largest difference from previous generations. Its new design is a great balance between both new and familiar. The controller is slightly larger than its predecessor with more weight, making it more comfortable and easier to hold. The triggers have definitely seen a huge improvement, and are now comfortable and don't feel like the mushy PS3 triggers. The triggers are analog, but pushing them actually feels more like pushing a button. Holding it gently or pushing it all the way down doesn't feel like it has as much effect as it should, and this is very apparent in games such as Drive Club and Battlefield. Even though the triggers are more comfortable than ever, the response from pushing them leaves quite a bit to be desired. The thumbsticks are now rubber with an indentation that's quite comfortable and easy to use. When it comes to the features of the controller, Sony didn't hold back at all. It has a bright LED light at the bottom that indicates your player number and can interact with the PlayStation camera. In the center of the controller, there's a capacitive touchpad that can respond to presses and gestures. The controller also features two new buttons that replace the start and select buttons, a share button and options button. The option button acts exactly as the start button would, but the share button has more functionality. With it, you can record gameplay clips and stream to Twitch on the fly, which can be very convenient. This controller definitely has a lot of things going for it, but it isn't without its problems. The thumbsticks feel great, and the rubber is comfortable, but the build quality of this rubber is god-awful. They wear very quickly. After a month of use, my thumbsticks already had major peeling, whereas my Xbox thumbsticks, after a year and a half of use, are solid as ever. On the PS4, you're going to have to be buying new replacement rubbers for these joysticks quite frequently. The new features implemented by Sony on these controllers aren't that impressive either. The light bar can indicate a player number, but so could the small LEDs on the PlayStation 3 controller. And the interaction of the bar with the PlayStation camera is pretty vacant outside of a couple mini games that get boring after 5 minutes. Also, the touchpad isn't used effectively in the majority of games. If it is ever used, it's just to swipe up to climb a rock or tap to reload, or simple actions that you'd probably rather just use the thumbsticks or button anyway. It also can get in the way. I can't count how many times I accidentally tapped or swiped on it mid-game, which caused an effect I didn't want. The touchpad does work very well for navigating the web browser, but other than that, it just gets in the way. These features also cause the biggest problem with this controller, the battery life. The DualShock 4 does have a rechargeable battery, but that's no excuse for the battery life to be this bad. The light bar that is always on and the touchpad use a lot of juice. You can dim the light bar in the settings, but cannot turn it off, even if you don't have the camera. And even at the lowest brightness, I could only get up to 6 hours on a full charge. This means most gamers will have to charge their controllers after every play session, and also make sure to disconnect in time so it doesn't overcharge, as opposed to the Xbox One controller, which, despite requiring AA's or a battery pack, has on average 30 hours of battery life. In terms of customization, the PS4 controller comes in a large variety of different colors, but almost no different designs, whereas the Xbox One has tons of cool versions. The DualShock 4 is a big improvement on the DualShock 3, but the bad rubber, features that are never more than gimmicks, and poor battery life unfortunately bring down what would be a great controller. Due to its more comfortable feel, variety, battery life, simplicity, triggers, and customizable inputs, the Xbox One definitely has the better controller. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you don't miss the coming parts of this mini-series, where I will continue to analyze these two consoles in areas such as their games and software to see which one is the best choice for you. I'm Magic Official, and I am out. Peace.